Everyone's present. The gallery, council staff and councillors, to our first meeting of the Richmond Valley Council for this term. Extraordinary council meeting. I'll have more to say about a welcome at our monthly meeting later in the month. So I'll open the meeting with the acknowledgement of country. Richmond Valley Council recognises the people of the Bundjalung Nations as custodians and traditional owners of this land, and we value and appreciate the continuing culture connection to lands, their living culture and their unique role in the life of this region in the past, present and future. Mr General Manager, could you read the prayer, please?
Dear Lord, we meet to serve our Richmond Valley community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, and to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen.
Amen. There's no apologies. We have a full house. Declarations of interest. Has any councillor got a declaration of interest? Mr General Manager, have you received any from staff?
No, no declarations.
Mr General Manager, I'll hand over to you. I'll get the recommendation first. Could I get a mover, please, on page 6?
Move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey.
Second.
Councillor Hayes, was it? Yep. Mr General Manager, I'll hand over to you to take the affirmations or the oath.
Do you want to move that?
Oh, do you want to put first? Yeah. Okay. Is there any discussion? I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried.
Yeah, so thanks, Mr Mayor. As is outlined in the report, one of the first duties of newly elected councillors, as you all are, is to take either the oath or the affirmation. That's a choice that you have. It's a requirement under the Local Government Act, with the aim being it's a public statement by each councillor affirming their commitment to undertake the duties in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley and to faithfully and impartially carry out their functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested under New South Wales legislation to the best of their ability and judgment. So we'll now just ask each councillor to in turn stand and just recite the oath or affirmation. I think it might be appropriate we start with you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I, Councillor Robert Alfred Mustoe, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you. We'll move on to Councillor Morrissey.
I, Councillor Stephen Edmund Morrissey, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Councillor Humphries.
I, Councillor Sandra Gay Duncan Humphries, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and the Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Councillor Murray.
I, Councillor Lyndall Ann Murray, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and I will faithfully and impartially carry out those functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Councillor Hayes.
I, Councillor Robert John Hayes, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 and any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Councillor Cornish.
I, Councillor Samuel Cornish, swear that I undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
And Councillor Walker.
I, Councillor John Harold Walker, swear that I will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interest of the people of the Richmond Valley community and Richmond Valley Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, councillors. We will note for the record, as required to do in the minutes, that you have all met that requirement, so thank you.
Thank you and congratulations, everyone. Now move over to page 8. Election of Deputy Mayor. I have a motion there, a recommendation there. Can I get a mover, please?
Yeah, moved.
Councillor Cornish, seconder.
Second.
Councillor Humphries. Okay, all right. Has any councillor like to discuss this? No, I'll put the motion in. All those in favour? Carried. I'll now hand over to the General Manager to handle the ballot.
Thank you. So for the Deputy Mayor, I've received one nomination. So that nomination is from Councillor Morrissey. That nomination form has been correctly completed. Being no other nomination, I will declare Councillor Morrissey Deputy Mayor for the first 2 years of this term. Congratulations.
Page 11, mayoral delegation. I have a recommendation there. Could I get a mover, please?
I'll move.
Councillor Hayes and a seconder. Councillor Morrissey. Councillor Hayes.
Nothing.
Councillor Morrissey.
Mr Mayor.
Any other speakers? Put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Page 13, 5.4, Council Committees and Delegates have a recommendation on page 13. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you.
Yeah, second.
Councillor Cornish. Councillor Morrissey.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Cornish. Put that recommendation then. All those in favour? Carried. Mr General Manager, I'll hand over to you to run these elections for these positions.
Yep, thank you, Mr Mayor. So firstly, we will do the Rouse County Council delegates, which requires 2 councillors. So we will conduct that election as required to do so. I have received 3 nominations. So in alphabetical order, we have a nomination completed correctly by Councillor Humphreys, a nomination completed correctly by Councillor Musto, and a nomination completed correctly from Councillor Walker. So just bear with me a moment while I put those names on the ballot paper, and then I will hand a ballot paper to each of you. It is an optional preferential voting process, so I'll just put the names on this paper. Won't take me a couple of minutes, and then I'll hand that around. You can vote. I will then collect them, and then there's the first to vote for the first candidate, and then there's a second vote for the second candidate. So it's optional preferential, and so on the ballot paper it does explain that you will need to place at least the numbers 1 and 2 because there are 2 delegate positions to be voted on. In the squares opposite the names of the persons whom you wish to vote for, so as to indicate the order of preference. You may then also put numbers against, in this case, number 3, in the squares opposite the other candidate. So I'll just fill out those forms now. I've got the nominations and get them to you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mead, just for clarification, if I could. Does that mean there are 2 ballots?
Yep. So there's 2 ballots. So you vote on the first position, and under the preferential system, the person who is elected, their ballot papers then so they'll be their number 1. They will then those ballot papers come back into the second vote, and their number 2s on those become number 1 for the second vote. So there are 2 separate votes. That's how it's set out in the regulations, which refer to 2 different schedules. But that's how it gets completed.
So there's not actually 2 votes, there's only one, you only vote once?
There is, sorry, so to be clear, there are 2 separate votes, and you use the 1 ballot paper and the preferences that are on that 1 ballot paper.
It's got to be a 1 and a 2 to make it legal.
So to fill out the ballot paper correctly, it must have at least a 1 and a 2 on it. Otherwise it's deemed informal and it gets, there is a word for it, rejected from the vote. indeed. Thank you, councillors. They were all completed correctly. So we have 7 correct ballot papers. So for the first candidate, so for the first member in the order of preference, we have 6 first preferences for Councillor Musto, against a 1 first preference against Councillor Walker. So in the first vote, I declare that Councillor Musto is the delegate to Rouse County Council. So we'll now move on to the second vote, in which those ballot papers that had Councillor Musto as a number 1, they then move to what their second preference is, and it becomes the first preference for the second vote. And so for the second vote, I have 6 first preferences for Councillor Humphreys, and the 1 vote for Councillor Walker is in that second vote as well. So I declare that the second delegate to Rouse County Council is Councillor Humphreys. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
So we will now notify Rouse County Council of the outcome of that vote, and I'm sure their General Manager will be in touch with arrangements for their first meeting. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the Richmond Valley Local Traffic Committee. There is no specified format for electing that representative. The representative is, it is a statutory committee that we are required to have. It is an advisory body, and it, as the report says, consists of a councillor, a Director of Projects and Business Development or a nominee, representative from the Police Traffic Branch, Transport for New South Wales, and the member for Clarence or his nominee. Really just ask for nominations from any councillor, and if there are more than 1 nomination, propose we just have a vote by show of hands. So do we have any interest or nominations for the Traffic Committee?
I'll do it. I'll nominate.
Second? Do a second.
Okay, thank you. So we've got Councillor Hayes. Any other interest or nominations? I'll take that as a no. I'll declare Councillor Hayes to be our representative on the Richmond Valley Traffic Committee. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you for filling that role. Next item is 5.5 on page 16, council meetings, ordinary meeting day and time. Could I get a mover, please, for that recommendation?
I'll move, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Morrissey, and a seconder, please.
Second.
Councillor Cornish, Councillor Morrissey,
No, I don't have any objection, Mr.
Councillor Cornish. Councillors, as you note there, there's no meeting in December, but if there is a need be, in January, I'm sorry, in January, but if there needs to be, we can always call an extraordinary meeting any time that arises through the year. And Mr General Manager, you might just mention the time has to be given for that, to notify councillors there will be an extraordinary meeting.
If there is to be an extraordinary, yeah, there's notification requirements, generally, urgency or a matter that's important that needs to be dealt with. That can also be brought forward by a request from 2 councillors. So there are specific provisions. Again, we will go through those in more detail for those new to the role when we go through meeting practice and codes of conduct and the like. This just gives an indication of our meeting schedule to the community, so they know well in advance what we are proposing on a monthly basis. There is a requirement to meet at least 10 times a year, so it's just to meet that requirement.
And you will see in the June there is a budget meeting, or we'll have maybe a couple of workshops about the budget before that.
Oh, there'll be plenty of
Information.
workshops and community consultation as we go through the process of reviewing our community strategic plan, delivery program and operational plan. There's a requirement for new councils to go through that process, and there is the requirements around quite detailed community consultation. So we will be, we are reviewing and updating our community engagement strategy, and specifically our engagement for our next community strategic plan. So there will be plenty of opportunities for our community to have input into the next version of that, which is required to be adopted by 30 June next year.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Councillor Hayes.
Just a question on the timing of the meetings. Our information sessions are usually at 5 o'clock start, and our councillor meetings are at 6 o'clock. Is there a reason for the difference?
My recollection was that 6 o'clock we shifted to in the last term, and that was to enable, given the emergence of live streaming, it was to enable people to get home from work and to be able to tune in at 6 p.m, whereas obviously at 5 o'clock often people are just knocking off. So that was my recollection of the rationale. I'm happy if there was anything else to that, but that was why. And then the information sessions are really 5 p.m, because obviously as a councillor role is it is a part-time role, is that many of you work, and it's to enable you to do your working day and then come to briefing sessions through the evening.
Any other questions? No right to reply? I'll put that motion in. All those in favour? Carried. Page 18, 5.6, countback process. There is no recommendation here. That just says that council considers the options. I believe Mr General Manager, if council wants to go to a countback of votes, there needs to be a specific motion moved.
Yeah, so if the view of council is that you want to consider this option, there is specific wording that has been provided by the Electoral Commission that the recommendation needs to form, and that is the wording that is now just been put up on the screen. It's really a matter for you as councillors to decide whether you want to take up, it's an opt-in process. There's obviously viewpoints in both directions, and so really it's a matter for you as the elected body to decide whether it's something that you want to consider. If you do, that would be the resolution that needs to be proposed, and then it's a matter of if that was obviously moved and seconded, it would then need to be voted on in the affirmative for that countback option to be in play should a councillor need to resign their position. I think it's through the first 18 months of the council term.
So, Mr General Manager, if no one moves that forward, for a countback of votes, that will lapse, this item will lapse.
Yeah, very specific requirement that it must be adopted if it's to be taken up at the first meeting of every new council. So yeah, it needs to be passed at this meeting. If it's not, it lapses, and we basically, if that situation were to arise in that period, it would necessitate a by-election.
Thank you.
Question, is the by-election run along the same lines as an ordinary election? There's still like a pre-poll, 2-week pre-poll and all that kind of stuff?
It would be the same, I would think.
1 week pre-poll. I think
Question,
Councillor Walker.
I think
question,
it does.
Mr Mayor, is Does the resolution have to be adopted in that form, or could you vary, for example, the number of months?
No, it has to be. The
Has to be
advice has
18
been
months.
specific. It's been, and it was only reminded to all general managers yesterday that if you are looking to resolve, here's the words. So it's been very prescriptive.
In the report, it's, sorry?
And the Act does specify the period of 18 months. So there's no, it's opt-in on this basis or not.
It was, I noticed in the report that it was introduced in 2016, but the first time it was actually voted on was at the last election, after the last election, the first meeting, and the council of the day resolved not to adopt this, but to go to a by-election. So that was done at the last meeting. No movers. I'll declare that lapses, and we move on. And if there will be a by-election, if any councillor does vacate their seat, but there has to be one anyway for a mayor, as there has to be for a state and a federal member. So I think it's popular mayor. Sorry. Yep. I was more or less talking about our situation.
We know that.
Yep. Okay. All right. I believe that closes it, please. I believe that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you everyone for your attendance and the gallery. And under these weather conditions, please everyone drive home safely and have a safe trip. Thanks for your attendance. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.